Oke, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh kawan-kawan semua. Ini hari ini agak rawe. Ini jujur deg-degan. Ya, jadi buat kawan-kawan semua, teman-teman tahu kemarin Bentang Jawa kan? Ya, saya sudah mengundang bintang tamunya itu banyak dari yang fiksi sampai Mas Ican pelatihnya. Dan kali ini rutenya 1.500 kilo juga, tapi dilariin. Dilariin. Kita sambut bersama bertiga. Teman-teman, ya monggo kenalkan sendiri satu-satu, banyak banget ini. Dari samping adalah Mr.
Ankit Kumar.
Yeah. And then
Halo, saya Hensis.
Saya Patricia Alicia.
dan mereka bertiga ini lari 1.500 kilo. 1.500. Ntar kita pahami logika dulu ya. 1.500 kilo.
Dari sini jumlahnya berapa?
600.
Nah.
Saya goes itu. Itu muak. Kok Hensis, sebelum saya bertanya, Mr. Ankit ini, we can call you Mr. Ankit ya?
Yes, sure.
Mr. Ankit is from India, so kita harus menggunakan bahasa Inggris. So I first ke Ko Hensis dulu ya.
Yeah.
Ko Hensis, Om Hensis, mau tanya langsung. Ini ngapain? Itu aja. Saya nggak apa-apa ya, mungkin agak kaget saya kayak gini. Ngapain?
Sebenarnya saya juga bingung juga waktu diajak dulu ya. Ini ceritanya akhir Juni. Akhir Juni itu saya diajak lari bareng sama Ankit gitu. Habis itu pas lari bareng itulah baru dia cerita itu. Saya mau lari amal. Saya mau start tanggal 2 Agustus. Saya mau sejauh 1.500. Sejauh 1.600 waktu itu dia bilang gitu. Saya cuma dengerin aja, iya. Terus setelah selesai lari sampai FX waktu itu ya, jadi ngobrolnya lebih jelas gitu. Terus dia bilang, nggak hanya 1.600, tapi saya mau menempuh 100 km tiap hari. Terus aku bilang, are you crazy? Itu susah banget gitu. Jadi nggak hanya jaraknya aja gitu, tapi targetnya pun agresif sekali. Dan setahu saya, pelari-pelari di Asia Tenggara yang mencoba 100 kilo per hari waktu itu, belum ada yang bisa sampai saat ini gitu. Jadi satu pun di Asia Tenggara yang saya tahu belum bisa mencapai. Mereka bisa mencapai 80, 90, tapi that's it gitu. Dan terlebih lagi waktu larinya gitu. Waktu larinya itu 15 sampai 17 jam. Idealnya kita berlari 16 jam sehari, kemudian kita punya waktu istirahat 8 jam.
Idealnya lari 16 jam berhari. Bentar, itu digarisbawahi dulu. Idealnya menurut Ko Hensis ya. Menurut Om Hensis, idealnya lari 16 jam berhari. Menurut saya 2 jam berhari. Masuk Ko Hensis.
Ideal yang maksimum maksud saya.
Oh ya udah.
Maksimum sehingga kita bisa konsisten dan bisa survive dari hari ke hari.
Itu 16 jam berhari?
Betul, karena manusia kan butuh istirahat. Jadi kita push, misalnya kita push sampai 20 jam pun, kita akan mengurangi waktu istirahat. Sehingga besoknya kita nggak akan bisa 100 km lagi gitu. Kalau kita nggak mengoptimalkan gitu hari pertama itu.
Itu Juni?
Itu akhir Juni.
Oke. Finally, Mr. Ankit. Ya, this is from your idea, ya. This is from your idea. Running 1,500 kilometers, and then you separate it in 15 days, ya?
16 days.
16 days. 90 kilometers per day, ya. Many people in Indonesia running 60 kilometers per week is for training marathon, and then you running 90 kilometers per day. What are you actually thinking, ya? And what is your goal? What is your goal when you ask Ko Hensis, okay, let's running 1,600? Can you tell us about your profile? Actually, also about your profile. What are you making a living? What are your job in Indonesia and why in Indonesia?
Sure. So I'll cover about my profile first,
Yes.
and then we'll come to like why did we decide to do Jakarta to Bali.
Yeah.
So I moved to Indonesia in December 2020 during COVID, and one of the reasons for me to move was my manager from previous company. He moved to Jakarta, and then he's visiting Bali. So he sent me a lot of pretty pictures of Bali. And then said, see, if you come to Indonesia, you'll get to visit Bali so often. And then I think, yeah, in worst case, if it doesn't work out, I can always come back to India. And then I say, okay, let's move to Indonesia. So then my manager had an opening in his team. So we go through the interview process. And then I end up moving to Jakarta in December 2020.
Okay.
And after that, during the second COVID wave, I go and live in Bali for almost 5-6 months because offices are still closed. So I really like that experience. We used to eat a lot, like party a lot. So I started gaining weight for the first time in my life. And I feel, I'm overweight. So what do? I start running a little bit on the beach, but I'm not consistent. Like some days I wake up and I'm like, no need today. We'll run tomorrow. And it happened almost every day. And then in 2022 April or May, so there's a runner friend in office. So he posted about Maybank Marathon. That there's a Maybank Marathon in Bali. Who wants to join? And then I thought, maybe that's a good reason to see if having a target helps you be more disciplined, more consistent. So I signed up for Maybank Bali Marathon. And back then it was easy to get in. It's not ballot system.
Oh, at the time, 2022, yeah?
Yeah, it's like first come, first serve. So if you register at the right time, you will definitely get the slot.
Okay.
So it's lucky in that aspect. Like I don't need to have an experience of running marathon, apply for a ballot system. So I get in, I train for the marathon, and that was, when I do the marathon, very painful. After I finish it, I just keep crying. I call my grandpa and I keep crying and say, why do you do it if you cry so much?
What do you think if you cry so much? And what is your average marathon time at the time?
4 hours and 32 minutes.
Whoa, it's good, yeah? Good, no?
Yeah, I was happy. And I walked, so I did not have any experience of running half marathon or full marathon. So I go very fast in first 21 kilometers. And then I realized, it's too hard to keep this pace for another 21 kilometers. And then I just sometimes walk, sometimes run in the last 21 kilometers. And then I finish in 4 hours, 32 minutes. So after that, I finish it for 3-4 days. It's still hurting a lot. It's hard to climb stairs. But after that, I start feeling like that, now, what do I train for? I don't have any other goal. So I think I think I like having a goal, then working hard towards the goal, train for it, then achieve it. So in my office, there used to be one guy who keep talking about he want to do Ironman, triathlon. So triathlon is like where you basically swim,
cycling.
then you cycle, then you run.
Yeah.
So he had been talking about it for a while. And then I was a bit competitive. And I thought, let's do it before him. He has been telling about doing Ironman for a while.
Yeah.
Let's do it before him. So, and this happened I think about it, let's say 7 a.m. And then next 1-2 hours, I'm already researching which Ironmans are good to sign up. And back then I did not have any bicycle. I did not know how to swim. And I just signed up for Ironman. And then I know okay, we will figure out all the things later. Let's fix a date.
You will figure it out later, right? Okay.
So then I start reaching out to people online because now I need people to train with.
Yeah, it's 2023.
It's still 2022.
Oh, still 2022.
But I signed up for Ironman in 2023. So my date to attempt is 2023. 1 year after I sign up.
Okay.
So I message people online, I look for triathlon communities in Jakarta. So I can find somebody, I message hi there. I message more people. And then they become my first link in the chain. So they introduce me to swimming coach. They introduce me to cycling communities. And then I trained for over a year. So I learned swimming from zero to almost 3.8 kilometer.
Yeah.
I learn how to bike fast. So I do all of those things in 1 year. Then I do Ironman, and then the same feeling, okay, what next? So I get into that.
After
that
Ironman?
trap of like, there should be something always that excites you, something that always like makes you a bit anxious. Like, oh, I don't know how to do it. Let's figure it out. Let's train for it. So after Ironman, I sign up for. So one of my friends tell me again in office that, oh, you should try trail running.
Oh, it's
And-
2023 ya?
It's 2023. So that's when I sign up for BTS 100. So BTS is like 100 kilometers.
Wait. Your first trail run event is BTS 100 kilometers.
Yes. My first trail run.
Ora normal lagi mau. Ya. Lagi you can speak Japanese ya. Ora normal lagi cok asli singa. Regular people ya, regular people in Indonesia start from 20, 30, 40. Your first trail run is 100. Okay. You can continue.
But I still train a lot. Like, so I know I'll attempt 100 kilometer in 4 months. So then I go to Sentul very often. I go to Bali as well for like a month to train in Mount Batur, Mount Agung. So that's where I meet Hensis and Patricia both because they are organizers of the BTS 100
So you met both of them in running event.
in running event.
Circle yang sangat lucu ya. Oke, running event in BTS.
In BTS.
And you finish.
And I finish.
Your first trail run 100 kilometers and finish. And then
finish.
after that,
And very happy with the finish. So like we were very slow, but when you finish and we realize, oh, we're still in 5th and 6th position.
oh yeah?
Yeah. So slow. I'm like, wow, this is good.
So your first trail run is your number 5?
Number 5 or number 6. I think number 5 or 6. I don't remember. Exactly.
Wah, asu cok wong edan iki.
So like two of us, we finished together like almost at the same time.
With who? With who? Number
So
one.
there's friend from, so I joined Bali trail running community.
Yeah.
So I meet a lot of people
in Bali.
there.
Yeah, oh.
So there's my friend Yes from that event. So we finished together in BTS 100. So his first 100, my first 100. So we said, okay, let's do it together. And then we just ran like almost 60 kilometers together, like from 41 kilometer until 100 kilometer.
Dan, jancuk. Okay. And then
So then,
after met Hensis.
so after meet Hanses, then I like look at his profile and then I already know, oh, he has already done so much running. He has done like events in Indonesia, outside Indonesia. And then I just ask for his number that, hey, and like now I call him Hanses, back then I just call him Hendra Siswanto. Because it's not so comfortable
In Hensis.
using Hanses.
Yeah.
So like Hendra Siswanto. And then I ask for his number and then I ask him, can we train together sometime in Sentul? Because you live in Jakarta, I live in Jakarta.
Yeah.
But we never train together.
Yeah.
So after that, again, I think I sign up for very aggressive. I sign up for 100 miles in Rinjani.
Hah?
Again, not a good decision now, I can say. But because that was my first 100 miles trail run and that too in Rinjani.
100 kilo ke 100 mil.
So it's, and Rinjani is, I think, very hard.
Yeah, this is very
Like compared to all the other 100 miles, Rinjani needs like some experience of 100 miles and then you attempt Rinjani because the cutoff time is you stay out for like 55 hours.
monster itu minjani. Cut off time is short ya. Actually it's too
I
short ya.
think cutoff time is not short,
But the
but
weather.
it is too long. Like going on for 55 hours, like there's not a lot of runnable section where you can actually run. It's mostly like going up very steep, you cannot run, and then going down very steep, you cannot run.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of technical sections as well, like where there are like big rocks, there are ladders, there are ropes.
ropes.
There are ropes, like some places where it's too dangerous. So government or like the race only, they have installed the ropes, so it's a bit more safe. So you hold the rope and then you climb, so you don't fall. So it's more like a hiking than actual running.
Aduh, berat banget.
So that's why it's very hard. It takes so much time, like 55 hours. And then if you don't have experience of like how to stay awake for 55 hours, how do you manage your pace, it becomes very hard. It's like almost two and a half days without sleep.
Yeah.
And that too, like doing so much hard work, not even like just chilling at home, just binge watching a TV series.
Yeah.
It's just like you're burning like so many calories, you're doing so many things. the weather changes. Like sometimes it's hot during daytime, in the evening it gets cold. So it's
Yeah.
so I signed up for like Rinjani in 2024.
And then
I attempt it, and then I stop at around 90 kilometer.
oh, this
After
is
90, this is the DNF.
yeah.
So after 90, I cannot continue. I think mostly mental issue, not the physical. But I did not have experience of like how to manage the whole race. I just think in my head that, oh, one more night, I cannot go. I want to sleep. It's too hard.
Actually, finally you can say this is too hard. And
Then I do DNF. I come back home, but now this keep bothering me because this is my first DNF. So I know for me that first DNF is very personal. Like I keep thinking about it.
yeah.
How do I make this DNF an actual finish? And then to recover, not to recover, like at least for my mental satisfaction. So Jaki Vardhana was organizing race around Java,
Yeah.
3,000 kilometer.
Yeah.
And again, it's a bit reckless, but I did not have any ultra cycling experience. I just do like maximum 180 kilometer, that too in Ironman. But after this is like 3,000 kilometer.
And then
So I tell him I want to do 3,000 kilometer. And then he said, you don't have experience. He just raised his concerns. And I'm like, I think I can do it. Can you let me do this race? And then he was kind enough to let me do the race. Then I finish race around Java. And again, I was a bit shocked with the position. I came like fifth.
what?
So I was also very shocked, like, wow, even with like my less experience, with like very basic. So I was using Polygon bike. I did not buy like any very expensive fancy bike, like Polygon S7, which is like
Stratos ya? Or Helios?
Stratos
Stratos.
S7. So which is like, I think the cheapest road bike you can get maybe.
Yeah.
Like 18
18
million,
million.
18,
18
17
million.
million. And I use that bike to do race around Java. So after the race, Jackie is doing the inspection of my bike. I'm like, you did not change this for race around Java. I'm like, nobody told me this needs to be changed. And they're like, oh, your sprocket ratio is not good. I'm like, nobody told me. I don't have any experience. So I just take whatever is there. I have this bike. And then I thought, you just need a bike. And I go. And then he's like, no, this is not good. You are too reckless. But you still finish the race around Java. So then I start focusing again on the running. And during the race around Java part, I love that experience of like 13 days. You stay among like local people,
Yeah.
Indonesian people. They help me so much.
Ah.
Like sometimes I have a problem with my bike. So even at like 11 in the night, 12 in the night, somebody will call the mechanic.
Oh.
The mechanic will come, they'll fix my bike. They'll let me stay in their home. They'll prepare food for me. Sometimes I cannot find hotel. So they'll come and look for a hotel with me.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. They're like, oh, okay, we'll help you find a hotel. Then they help me find hotel like at 11, 12 in the night. So I had like such an amazing time during this 13-day period. And I really love it. So that set the base for like, I realized, oh, I like being like amongst local people, Indonesian people for very long periods of time. Not just like you go on a Grab bike, you meet the Bapa for like 10 minutes. No. I really like when I'm speaking to them, being with them for like days at time. And I also learned so much Bahasa Indonesia in those 13 days. I did not learn Bahasa Indonesia in my 4 years, but I learned more Bahasa Indonesia in those 13 days because there's no other option.
Yeah, because
I like use Google Translate sometimes, and then I start picking up the keywords, and I can even like get a sense of like what are they trying to do in their day. I tell them what I'm trying to do in my day. I can communicate with them like where I come from, why am I doing this. So I'm so happy, like, wow, my Bahasa Indonesia is so good now. I can communicate with local people.
because of the cycling 3,000 kilometers.
Yeah.
And then after that?
After that, I again shift my focus back to
Rinjani.
Rinjani.
Oh, come back.
Come back that I want to finish Rinjani. So I realized I need 100-mile experience before I do the actual Rinjani 100 miles. So I sign up for like one race in India, which is like 121 kilometers. Then I sign up for BTS 100 miles.
Oh, then you met Hensis again.
I meet Hensis again. I meet Hensis in Rinjani 100 miles DNF attempt as well. Then I meet Hansis again in BTS 100 miles. And then I do one more 135 miles race in India. So again, all is preparation for Rinjani 100 miles. Because I just want to make sure like I have enough experience of like running a lot of distance, staying awake for long durations of time. So I do all of this, and then this year, yeah, I was fortunate enough to finish Rinjani. It take like 54 hours,
Whoa.
20 minutes something. And that is like longest time I have been awake. And then as soon as I come to finish, I meet the Adrian. So Adrian is also organizer of the F1 sport races.
Yeah.
And then my first reaction is, it's too hard. He asked me,
But
"How
you
do
can make it.
I can. He's like, how do you feel? I'm like, it's too hard. Don't make it so hard. Because I was so tired, like so tired. Not sleeping for 54 hours something, and then keep pushing. And then in the last few kilometers, I thought I'll not make the cutoff. So my feet still hurting, and then I run very fast because I thought I might miss the cutoff. And then I don't know how to handle like another DNF. So I'm like, it's okay. If you get injury, we'll fix it later. We'll go to doctor.
We
for
could fix
now-
it later.
No need to think about like the impact of this on your body. Just go all out, finish it. So after I finished Rinjani, that's when we started getting a bit more concrete about this idea. So this idea first come in my head when I was still preparing for Rinjani. So in February and March, I'm just running around my apartment, and then I realized, why do I keep running in circles like such small loop? If I like running so much, maybe I should explore running from like long distance.
Yeah.
And I've been watching a lot of documentaries about like how do people do this Appalachian Trail, Pacific Crest Trail, like in US, Europe. And I think, oh, maybe that's a good idea. Just run from like one big city to another big city in Indonesia. So it fulfill like my purpose of pushing the limits and seeing like how long can I last, when will I break. And second, also fulfill my idea of like being with Indonesian people again. So like if I go and be with Indonesian people again, I'll feel good. And then after Rinjani, my confidence is like through the sky.
Yeah.
I feel like I can do anything.
Yeah.
Like I just know I
understand.
need to train a lot, but nothing is impossible. It's just a matter of like how hard you have to train to achieve it. So then I watch one documentary. So there's a guy called Ned Brockman.
Yeah.
He's an Australian guy, and he ran from Perth to Sydney.
Wah, itu jauh banget so far tuh.
And
It's like west to east ya.
yeah, it's like almost 4,000 kilometers.
Yeah.
And he ran it to raise money for homeless people.
Oh.
So he said that I want to get people off the road. So there's somebody living on the road without home. So I want to raise money so we can build homes for them, and then they can have a proper house. So when I watched the documentary, it somehow clicked me that, oh, you already want to do a long run. Why not associate it with a noble cause? And I had been like, from my own salary or my own income, I had been donating for animal welfare. I have been donating for feeding people. Like every month, I used to donate like certain part of my salary for animal welfare for this. So then I think, oh, this is a good idea to bring like all the endurance challenges, being amongst Indonesian people, and then combine it with a charity. And that's when we come up with the idea that we want to dedicate our run to raise money for feeding families and children in Gaza, Palestine.
Oh.
And that's when so after I get the idea, it became a bit more urgent in my head. I want like, oh, if I want to help, I need to help them as soon as possible because they're already in need of money.
Yeah.
They're already in need of food. So let's do it as soon as possible. Because back then my head is still confident. It's not thinking logically. So I don't want it to think logically because then it'll not let me do such a crazy thing. So I don't think like, okay, now my head cannot think. Let's just sign up for it. Let's make it happen. So I reach out to like Hanses, Patricia, more people because I don't have any experience of doing such long distance runs. And especially not a lot of road runs, maybe just trail runs. So I reach out like Hansis, Patricia, all the people I know. So I reach out to all of them that, guys, I have this idea. How do I make it happen? And then everybody gave their inputs, like these might be the challenges you might face, so you need to address these challenges. And then this is happening in June, like Hansi said. So I meet Hansis as well, and then one day I get a message from Patricia that she will join me for the actual run. And that day I'm so happy. I'm like, yeah, you don't need to run alone. Because earlier my idea was I'll have to run alone from Jakarta to Bali, not with anybody. And then once Patricia messaged me, I'm so happy that at least there's one more person to run with me. And then after a couple of days, I think Hansis also decided that he believes in the cause, like what we are trying to do to help people, and he also wants to run. And that's how, yeah, like three of us, we decided we'll run. And then we just started figuring out the logistics, like we need a crew, we need cars, we need to spread awareness about the event. So all of these things happened within these last 1.5, 2 months. Because June we are discussing, and then 2nd August we are already starting the run. So in this 1.5 months, we have to sort out all the things logistically. And then we decide like we'll finish on Indonesia Independence Day, 17th. So it's like a bit more symbolic, where like this is the day that Indonesia got freedom. So maybe everybody in the world should have freedom to like express their opinion, have the basic rights. So we also decide to align with Indonesia Independence Day. And yeah, this is how it came out to be. And then we're pretty happy with the overall the event, because we were able to raise like so much money. And that is like, even now I think if I think about it, if it's not a charity event, it will be even harder. Because if it's charity event, whenever you are too tired or it's too exhausting, you think about
the reason.
The reason. Like, oh, if I keep running, we'll raise more money. If we raise more money, we'll be able to feed more people. And that helps. Versus like if you have your own personal goals, it's not so convincing. But when you think like, if I stop, maybe people will not get food, and if they die, then I will be the one responsible for it. So it puts you like more responsibility on you, and because it's bigger than you, so then you don't even think about like, oh, I stop, and then like the whole moment stop. Yeah. So
Exit. Saya mendengarkan aja bingung. Tapi karena sudah di-mention, really inspire experience ya. But I can feel the moment when you meet a lot of people in Indonesia, because I have same experience as you. My first experience as cycling is when I try the bike. I buy the new bike is December 2021, and then in February I cycling from Jogja to Jakarta. This is my first cycling event, and then I meet a lot of new people. That is the reason why I keep cycling and keep running. So actually, I understand what you're saying about meeting a lot of people and a lot of helping people.
People are so
kind.
good, so kind.
Like they in Indonesia, outside in Jakarta is
their way to help you. Like, can you imagine like somebody calling their friend calling the mechanic at 11 in the night. They come, they fix my bike, and they say, you sleep because you'll cycle tomorrow. So we will fix everything. You don't need to worry about it.
Especially about the accommodation, about the hotel, the motel. Yes.
And they let you stay in their home. They also like, during my race around Java, they will not let me pay for food sometimes. I eat and then they say, you don't need to pay.
Just same like me. When I start to this is my money, they always reject it. They always reject it. Nah, I understand it. And kita ke Kak Patricia ya. Jadi saya jujur pusing sekali ya dengan begitu mendapatkan ide ini dari Om Hansis, kok tiba-tiba malah mengajukan diri ikut?
Sebenarnya inside my heart, kita itu harusnya tidak bisa tinggal diam ya melihat apa yang terjadi di Palestina. So when Ankit go with the idea, datang dengan ide itu, saya langsung berpikir, wow, this is the moment ya, saya bisa membuat sesuatu untuk saudara-saudara kita di Palestina. Ya, jadi for me ini adalah we talk about peace, kedamaian dan humanity, kemanusiaan. Jadi waktu itu saya bilang ke Hensis, ini kesempatan yang jarang, ya, dan urgent. Karena waktu itu Hensis di bulan September, jadi jaraknya hanya kurang dari sebulan. Itu ada race lain yang lebih penting di Italia. Takut cedera, takut cedera banget. Jadi saya bilang, saya akan ikut. Jadi atas perintah istri, dia juga ikut.
Jadi asal kalian tahu nih suami istri yang memang suka ultra. Nah, terus strategi. Sekarang saya akan lebih teknis boleh ya Kak ya?
Boleh ya.
Aku sempat komunikasi dengan Cek Patricia ini adalah bahwa di balik seorang suami yang bisa ultra, itu ada seorang istri yang memang rutin menyiapkan nutrisi. Itu beneran, saya ngomong. Aku digituin itu. Oh iya, nah sekarang istrinya juga ikut. Nah itu strateginya. What is your strategy untuk 3 tim ini? Gimana caranya 1.600 itu kan berarti kalau nggak salah dibagi hampir 90-100 kilo per hari. Selama straight 16 days. Dan hanya dikasih jeda tidur itu 8 jam.
Yeah.
Pasti akan ada exhausted, makan sambil lari. Nah itu strateginya gimana sih?
Ya, jadi kalau kita berlari ultra, otomatis tubuh kita lemah. Pencernaan juga lemah. Jadi kita harus makan makanan yang lunak. Tugas saya setiap malam, kalau mereka udah tidur, saya cuci panci, masak bubur. Jadi kita bawa 2 slow cooker. Slow cooker dan 1 rice cooker. Awal-awalnya minggu pertama masih rajin tuh. Bikin nasi lembek, bikin bubur kacang hijau, sama bikin sup kentang. Karena kalau udah bosen makan, makanan lain kan manis. Jadi kita bikin yang asin. Jadi bubur, bikin nasi lembek pun kita kasih garam. Kasih garam karena tubuh itu seriously butuh garam ya. Sedangkan minuman-minuman itu kan manis, buah juga manis. Jadi kebutuhan garamnya saya taruh di beras ya. Jadi bubur semi lah, nasi lembek bubur. Terus sometimes potato soup ya, potato soup. Sampai saya akhirnya kelelahan karena mereka udah tidur, saya masih ngupas kentang. Akhirnya kita putusin, udah kita bikin nasi lembek aja. Nasi lembek setiap hari, nanti lauknya kita beli di warung. Kadang beli soto, kadang kita beli telur orek yang dikasih kuah sedikit gitu, kayak kuah Indomie ya, Indomie telur. Nah, dengan demikian ada makanan di mobil, kita lebih efisien. Lebih efisien, jadi begitu 10 kilo ketemu mobil, car support, jadi makanan selalu kita bagi 2 di mobilnya Hensis sama mobilnya Ankit. Jadi ada 2 mobil support. Begitu ketemu mobil, kita udah tim support udah siapin tuh di mangkok. Jadi mereka bisa langsung makan. Terus kita juga disupport 1 Burgreen ya, makanan siap saji yang vegetarian juga.
Iya.
Kadang kalau ini kan non veggie kita kasih abon atau telur, tapi kalau Ankit dia pasti dengan Burgreen food itu ya, makanan siap saji. Tapi kalau mereka berlari cepat, jadi makan di tempat, jadi istirahat, makan. Kalau saya karena pelari lambat, jadi setiap ketemu support car, saya taruh di plastik. Jadi bikin kayak nasi kepal gitu di plastik, sambil jalan, killing time juga, sambil makan bubur di plastik itu.
Bisa gitu?
Perut saya itu, usus saya itu sudah bekerja sama dengan baik. Jadi walaupun guncang-guncang sambil makan, is okay.
Kalau teman-teman biar nggak kaget, pengalaman Ultra Cek Patricia bisa di-share race apa aja udah diikutin. Jadi biar nggak kaget. Kok berani sih ikut kayak gini kan larinya berarti Cek Patricia kemarin berapa kilo atau 900 kan?
960. Jadi
Iya.
average.
Tes. Alias average 60 km per day.
Iya, dan 2 hari saya agak off karena ada urusan pekerjaan. Actually,
Oh, masih kerja?
Nggak bisa successful.
Average mingguan Miles Bu adalah average hariannya beliau. Nah, boleh di-share dulu nggak? Ini kan ada pengalaman ultranya Patricia apa aja yang di-share?
Jadi saya sama seperti kalian habis pandemik baru olahraga. Jadi 2020 saya baru mulai berolahraga, boleh di-search sebelumnya saya gendut banget. 2022 dibeliin sepeda, tadinya dia beli sepeda untuk dirinya sendiri, cross training. Biasalah yang ngerayu istri, aku beli sepeda, kamu juga bisa pakai. Beneran saya pakai dong. Dan saya pakai pertama kali langsung di Bentang Jawa.
Wah. Nomor berapa?
Nomor 3 ya wanita. Masih finish ada COT di hari Sabtu pagi.
Nang Jawa. Halal.
Iya.
Terus yang lu lari-larinya?
Saya baru mulai lari 2024. Jadi 2022, 2023 sepeda terus.
Terus 2024?
Mulai coba lari karena cuti menipis ya.
Iya.
Cuti menipis. Kalau event sepeda itu kamu harus habisin 1 sampai 2 minggu cuti. Cuti menipis. Kalau event lari kayak Binloop 200 kan cukup over the weekend, tapi udah dapat 200.
Udah ikut 200.
Pernah Bandung waktu itu Jabar Ultra. Bandung ke Cirebon.
Lari.
Iya, lari dan juara 2. Ternyata cuan ya di lari. Ada podiumnya, ada uangnya. Kalau sepeda no money, no prize tag.
Juara 2 Bandung Cirebon. Asu dilariin.
Iya, 160 kilo.
Fuck man. Berapa jam itu?
26 jam kalau sepertinya ya.
Tuh gila saya ini lama-lama. Terus yang Binloop itu berapa kilo?
200 kilo dan masih pegang record ya sampai sekarang.
Record.
Yes, wanita.
Kos recordnya Patricia berapa jam?
32 jam.
Edan!
Kurang ya? Iya.
200 km pegang rekor kos. Nah, suco. Enggak, maksudnya ini saya boleh tanya agak family, kan kalian couple kan? Di rumah apa tuh yang dibahas?
Di rumah justru kalau sama-sama di rumah itu udah kecapean ya. Jadi tidak ada dibahas, malah romantis ya. Tidak ada pertengkaran.
Dan sudah berapa lama nikah?
20 tahun.
Dan larinya?
Kalau lari dia 2014 duluan, saya baru mulai pandemi.
Dulunya tim support, dia gemuk. Jadi pas pandemi itu kan kerja dari rumah, mungkin bosen ya. Saya juga heran, tiba-tiba udah mulai WFA di rumah terus, tiba-tiba lari terus setiap hari 10 kilo. 10 kilo, jadi kalau konsisten setiap hari selama sebulan, beneran dapat 300 kilo dia. Dari yang nggak lari, terus lari kayak gitu, saya bingung, ini kesurupan apa ini? Nggak disuruh. Jadi mungkin karena bosen, jadi pandemi bosen, ya udah ngapain, lari aja, muter-muter gitu 10 kilo, bener-bener 10 kilo, dan dapat 300 kilo, kayaknya 3 bulan turun 15 kilo waktu itu.
Oke, karena dia sudah di couple, aku tanya dulu nggak apa-apa ya, Mr. Anggit ya. Kita kan udah lihat idenya ini, strategi. Terserah dari Koedi sama Patricia, nutrisinya kan akhirnya dibuatkan ada makanan padat, terus dipaksa bisa makan sambil lari. Secara theoretically, tubuh manusia tuh bisa dibuat lari 100 kilo per hari.
Sebenarnya sih tergantung dia pelari yang secepat apa gitu ya.
Oke.
Jadi idealnya aku bilang tadi, idealnya sih dari waktu gitu.
Oke.
Jadi kalau pelari lambat, dia lari katakanlah 16 jam sehari, ya paling dapat 80 km ya. Tapi kalau pelari lebih cepat, memungkinkan dapat 100 km gitu.
Oke.
Jadi lebih ke jamnya gitu. Kalau makin panjang, artinya waktu tidur kita makin sedikit gitu. Jadi kita melihat seberapa dia pelari cepat gitu, bisa dilihat dari ya tadi maraton time-nya 4,5 jam gitu. Oh ini memungkinkan 100 km setiap hari. Tapi kalau Patricia mungkin maratonnya masih 5 jam lebih gitu. Jadi seharinya kalau lari 16 jam ya paling mentok-mentok ya 80 gitu kalau dipaksa. Tapi kalau lebih santai bisa 60 gitu. Berdasarkan waktu.
Nah, terus untuk tipsnya supaya bisa lari terus ketika tidur kan secara saya dokter ya, itu pasti di hari keempat aja dah DOMS. Nah, cara mengatasi ini gimana dari
Ya, kalau saya mungkin boleh dibilang yang paling konservatif di antara mereka berdua gitu. Jadi pengalaman kan udah lari jauh. Memang saya suka lari jauh dari 2014. Saya mulai lari 2013 karena dulu kolesterol tinggi, disuruh lari sama dokter, ya udah saya lari setiap 2 hari sekali. Terus 2014 kayaknya gini-gini terus kurang asik ya gitu. Jadi saya daftar maraton tahun 10 bulan sebelumnya ketika masih lari 10 kilo tuh. Udah daftar maraton aja 10 bulan setelahnya gitu. Habis itu ya udah punya target. Bulan Januari 100 kilo, Februari 150, 200, naikin terus sampai 400. Waktu itu nggak ngerti juga, belum ngerti gitu. Ternyata lariku kebanyakan untuk latihan maraton gitu.
400 bulan?
400 bulan untuk maraton.
100.
Jadi waktu itu,
Tapi saat itu kan medsos belum kayak sekarang ya.
betul. Jadi waktu itu udah finish 60 kilo ultra pertama saya gitu, sebelum lari maraton.
Loh,
Jadi sebelum maraton, kayaknya ada ultra, boleh coba dulu nih.
Loh,
Ternyata
kok
finish 60 kilo.
itu apa Vinuk, Bo?
Waktu itu
Belum
Nusa
ada.
Sila.
Oh, Mestastila, oh yang Magelang ya.
Ya, yang edisi pertama atau kedua
Iya.
waktu itu.
60. Terus habis itu FM-nya di mana itu?
FM-nya Jakarta Marathon.
Oh, Jakmar ya?
Jakmar. Edisi kedua.
Virgin Marathonnya?
3 jam 42 menit. waktu itu.
Semprol, Cok. Virgin Marathonnya 3:40. Nah, kita balik lagi ke Cek Patricia. Menghadapi suami yang hobi lari jarak jauh, adaptasi apa yang harus dilakuin?
Saya justru sangat support.
Loh.
Sangat support suami saya berlari, beraktivitas lari ya. Saya itu membayangkan daripada dia daripada gue bersaing dengan manusia, terus dia ke klub atau apa, atau nge-game ya, mending dia habisin energinya di lari. Jadi
Oh.
dari dulu dia mau lari kemana saja tidak pernah ada urusan visa ya. Kita itu hanya nggak boleh ikut race kalau misalnya Imlek atau Natal.
Oke,
Ya, itu
paham.
aja. Pokoknya kamu jangan ikut race. Makanya dia belum pernah ikut Hong Kong Ultra karena itu di Imlek.
Nggak mungkin.
Ya, yang penting nggak boleh Imlek, nggak boleh pas Natal. Di luar itu mau daftar race silakan gitu. Jadi akhirnya karena istri juga nggak pernah komplain, uang lu ya, lu mau daftar race silakan, dan terus dia juga bebas membeli gear-gearnya yang ternyata mahal banget.
Iya, iya. Mahal
Gear
banget.
lari itu. Akhirnya dia mencapai sendiri prestasinya, dan saya nggak pernah komplain. Oh, race itu selalu di weekend kan ya,
weekend.
nggak ada yang race yang hari
Weekdays.
biasa.
Ya, nggak ada.
Bagi saya, itu sekaligus liburan keluarga, seperti dia ikut ITB Ultra Jakarta Bandung. Ya, startnya kan dari Jumat malam, Sabtu itu kan dia ada di jalan, finishnya Minggu pagi di Bandung. Ya kenapa nggak jadi liburan keluarga gitu. Jadi saya selalu ngantar anak les, pulang les, saya ngejar ke Bandung.
Masih
Jadi
nganter anak les.
iya kan, kalau Sabtu biasa anak banyak les ya. Jadi siang selesai kita ngejar ke, mungkin waktu itu ketemu di Purwakarta. Jadi nanti 10 km lagi kita kasih semangat ke papa gitu, ke anak-anak. Jadi anak-anak saya juga seneng gitu. Terus nanti Minggu kita ketemu di Bandung.
Terus yang
Pas
lari
habis.
1.600 ini, anaknya
Anaknya sudah gede.
umur berapa ya?
Paling gede SMA 3 dan paling kecil SMP 2. Jadi 17 dan 13 ya. Jadi mereka sudah
And
gede.
they are understand dengan hobi orang tuanya kayak gini?
Iya, sejak kecil sudah dilibatkan.
Sudah 12 tahun. Sudah 12 tahun. Ya mungkin dulu agak susah memahami, tapi begitu udah 12 tahun ya udah mengerti sedikit banyak.
Mengerti. Saya kalau punya bapak gitu, nggak tahu tidak. Bingung kau. Nah, terus bertiga, kan karakter kalian ini ke Kohensis teknis ya. Kohensis kan konservatif, dan aku sering lihat postingannya Kohensis itu sangat teknikal. Melihat tiga karakter ini berbeda dan kemampuannya berbeda, kesulitan terbesarnya di hari keberapa? Dan gimana cara mengatasinya, kok?
Iya, tadinya saya mengantisipasi itu hari ketiga atau keempat ya, gitu. Karena sebelumnya sih aku hampir selalu ikut charity run dari 2017, 2018, setiap tahun tuh ikut Run to Care dari edisi pertama, nggak pernah absen sampai 2024, bahkan 2025 pun aku ikut gitu. Jadi waktu si Ankit bilang mau lari 1.600, aku ada event lari juga nanti. Kebetulan sama, tanggal 9 Agustus gitu. Makanya aku dengerin, terus dia tanya-tanya apa, aku jawab. Nah, setelah itu ya udah aku agak cuekin aja sebenarnya gitu. Karena aku punya event charity marathon juga tanggal 9 Agustus nanti gitu. Nah, terus nggak tahu gimana akhirnya istriku mutusin ikut gitu ya. Sementara aku kan masih ada charity run tanggal 9 gitu.
Oh, jadi duluan.
Jadi duluan dia yang memutuskan ikut. Kayak tadi. Justru jadi aku jadi terpecah nih, aku milih yang mana gitu. Mau ikut Run to Care tanggal 9 atau mau ikut ini. Nah, kemudian mungkin satu-satunya alasan ya yang terpikir di benakku memutuskan ikut Charity Run 1.600 ini, ya mungkin RTC kan aku udah ikut gitu selama 8 tahun, jaraknya 150 kilo, dikali 8, 1.200. Nah, kalau ini sekali lari 1.600 gitu. Dan cost-nya pun mungkin lari untuk kaosnya lebih besar gitu, lebih besar dari yang sebelum-sebelumnya, bahkan jaraknya pun gitu. Sehingga aku mikir 5 tahun ke depan apakah ada ajakan yang sama seperti ini? Belum tentu ada sekali dalam 5 tahun gitu.
Iya,
untuk
iya.
lari 1.600.
Kayaknya Anda doang. Kayaknya kalian bertiga doang ya. Only all of you yang hanya mau lari 1.600 itu hanya Anda doang.
Nah, jadi aku ngelihatnya sebagai satu kesempatan gitu. 5 tahun ke depan belum ada satu orang pun yang ngajakin aku nih. Gitu.
Ya, orang
Kalau
gila.
ini aku lewatkan gitu. Sehingga aku putusin, oke, aku ikut selain istriku udah mutusin ikut tadi ya gitu. Sehingga ini keuntungan nih, aku punya tim support khusus gitu. Jadi dia bisa mensupport aku, masakin bubur tadi gitu, sambil bantu-bantuin cuci baju dan segala macam.
ya,
Itu
cuci
satu
baju.
keuntungan.
Cuci baju kok bisa penting?
Ya kalau
Setiap hari dia itu sehari ganti 3 atau 4 baju selama lari.
Etian ini yang baru
Malam
habis
itu kan
kering.
harus kering buat
itu
besok.
PR yang sangat besar, dia cuci baju sendiri gitu. Jadi,
You wash your own clothes ya. Tapi masih terus.
ya, tapi alasan keduanya aku memutuskan ikut karena dia udah finish race yang paling susah, Rinjani 162 kilo.
Itu paling susah.
Nah, paling susah nggak tahu di Asia Tenggara mungkin ya. Dan ya, I believe him gitu. I believe him. 1.600 kita kejar target 100 km per hari yang nggak mudah dan belum ada orang di Asia Tenggara yang bisa gitu. Aku bilang ya I will try. Persiapan hanya sebulan. Aku nggak janji apa-apa tapi aku coba sebaik mungkin. Istriku ikut yang 1.000 kilo, aku ikut full 1.600.
Mata
Ya,
terus apa?
jadi
Yuk.
setiap kali mereka kan masih bisa lari di pace 6, pace 7 ya. Kalau saya pace 12, pace 10, pace 12.
Tapi
Jadi
100
setiap
kilo.
kali saya ketinggalan, saya ditransfer ke depan, regrouping ya, supaya mobil yang ngikutin nggak nunggu saya.
Terus pendapat anak gimana itu?
Gimana?
Pendapat anak, what is your opinion? Tahu-tahu, papa mama mau lari loh 1.600 kilo. Enggak, saya mau tahu pendapatnya aja. Ini beneran saya mau tanya, karena kalian tuh kayak ordinary people loh. Make living-nya 9 to 5 kan. Employee, Kak C. Pratis ini masih kerja di salah satu financial advisor. Beneran kerja normal, anaknya apa pendapat keluarga ketika ide ini muncul?
Anak sih biasa kita nggak tanya anak, tapi kita jelaskan dan mereka cuma bilang, oke, be safe gitu.
Dalam hati anak ini. Tapi anaknya juga pernah ikut lari juga. Enggak, wah bosen kali lah, ngapain ini orang tua apa?
Nah, anak dari sejak kecil juga kita encourage untuk olahraga, tapi mereka bebas, olahraganya nggak harus lari, boleh. Waktu itu pernah speed skate, inline skate, tapi yang speed gitu. Jadi ikut klub serius gitu kan, ikut klub nanti suatu saat mungkin bisa ke PON gitu. Jadi benar-benar serius tuh. Swimming pernah, gimnastik pernah waktu kecil banget gitu. Habis itu pindah ke inline skating. Habis itu ya sekarang mungkin ada yang balik ke swimming lagi. Yang paling gede sepedaan.
Oke.
terus mungkin ada yang ikut karate gitu. Jadi kita nggak pernah maksa lari. Aku juga nggak pernah nyuruh istriku lari dari dulu
Sendiri.
gitu. Sendiri tiba-tiba ada pencerahan lari tiap hari gitu.
Paling sulit dari Jakarta Bali kemarin lari di masing-masing. For your Mr. Angkit first, dari 1.600 ini paling sulit di pas di mana? What is the most difficult route when you're running 1,600 kilometers?
I think when you go from Bandung and then you go towards Tasikmalaya, Yogyakarta,
Oh, that
and then you go to Semarang, that is lot of rolling.
wait, you cut from south and then from north. Lah,
Iya, kita
elevasinya
kemarin dulu.
bukannya gila banget itu.
Yeah. So we do about 8,000 meter elevation gain.
Hei, hei, 8.000 elevasi ya. Itu paling sulit itu elevasi paling tersulit selatan itu. So
Because
you
we're doing for charity, so we wanted to go through all the big cities of Java. Because you're doing for charity, so if you go through big cities, people know about the cause, they can support it. Versus if you just go via some shortcut, then people will not know. If people don't know, they'll not donate. So that defeats the purpose of the charity.
so the most difficult is ya south paling sulit south.
Yeah. So
Nah,
this
Malaysia the elevation
this part is like a lot of
rolling ya.
rolling. So elevation still okay. Like there are days when we look at the map and it shows 300 meter elevation gain. And I'm used to looking at the elevation gain in trail run and I'm happy. Oh, 300, manageable. But this 300 is like 300 rollings.
Yeah, they had it all.
Not like 300 meter elevation gain
And then
and then
300
all
thing.
down. That's much easier
Yeah.
than like 5 meter up, 5 meter down, 5 meter up, 5 meter down. That's very, very hard. And like I got injured in that section, and then hence is like towards the end of that section, about to reach Semarang, you also start to feel like the effect of all the up,
Rolling.
down, because up you have to push,
Yeah.
then down you have to control the momentum.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of pressure on your
Ankle.
ankles and knees. So that part was very hard, like just from the physically pushing standpoint. And then when you start going towards Surabaya, this section, this becomes very hot.
Oh ya, oh, Sudiwarto.
Because we're, again, like when we about discussing the idea, Hansis did recommend that I think it's a better idea to run in the night.
yeah,
And we sleep during the
Day.
So we don't face the heat. But then we discussed that maybe since you're doing it for charity, if we run in the night, nobody will know. If people don't know, then we'll not get donation. If you don't get the donation, that defeats the purpose of doing the run.
Sian, lari di Surabaya. You're running in Surabaya in afternoon. Wow, man.
In afternoon.
Sidoarjo, Surabaya, Gresik, Mojokerto. Itu panasnya ruang umum tuh. Ruang umum, so hot.
So hot.
In
That's like-
Javanese, we call it panasnya ruang umum. Panasnya ngentang-ngentang. Apa? The hot is potato. Panasnya ngentang-ngentang, beneran. We call it karena itu. And
Surabaya is like, even after I come back, I tell people like, when you look at map, Surabaya seems just another city in Java. It doesn't seem different on the map.
Yeah.
But when you go there, it seems a different land. Like the level of temperature, the hot, it's so different from the rest of the places.
Yeah.
Because it's so hot.
And then after you cross the Bali, you enter the Banyuwangi first.
Yes, so we go to Ketapang,
Yeah.
then take a ferry to Gilimanuk, and then via Tabanan, then Pasar.
You running again or
Running
you
again.
finish?
No, not finish in Gilimanuk. Running again in Bali, and we finish in Pantai Jerman, Kuta.
Okay. And then
That's another 135 kilometer in Bali.
and then for Coensis yang paling sulit di rute mana? Personally 1.600 ini. Atau jangan ngomong gampang semua, jangan ya. Jangan om ya. Ini yang nonton orang udah kesel kali nih, jago soalnya 1.600 paling sulit.
Rute paling sulit kalau kata saya itu dari Kebumen ke Jogja, Dendels.
Loh,
Itu 50 kilo lurus dekat pantai selatan.
Aduh.
Yang nggak kalah panas dan bosen ya. Jadi kata pelari-pelari di sana, kita naik motor aja bosen gitu. Ini dilariin jam 12 siang, 50 kilo. Kan dari Kebumen pagi jam 6. Jadi kita
Waduh.
masuk Dendels itu
Waduh,
jam 12 siang
kenapa nggak lewat yang ada jalan lain loh, Pantai Glagap, Purworejo? Kenapa harus Dendels lo lari? Itu kan angin
Jadi-
samping.
Jadi yang mendesain rute itu Ankit. Jadi perlu dipahami rutenya itu bukan rute tercepat dan terpendek gitu, tapi rute melewatin kota-kota besar. Jadi dia mengincarnya dari Bandung ke Tasik, terus ke Jogja, Kebumen, Jogja. Nah dari Jogja diputar dulu ke Solo,
Astaga.
ke Solo dulu, baru ke Semarang gitu, nggak langsung ke Semarang.
Solo Semarang lewat Bawen.
Ya, agar dapat memang misi utamanya itu mengkampanyekan donasi-donasi ini, bukan mencari waktu tercepat, rute tercepat.
Bawen.
Gitu. Iya, lewat Boyolali, Solo, habis itu Salatiga, baru ke Semarang gitu. Dan rute yang aslinya itu ke arah Surabaya, kita ke Malang dulu, rute
Astaga.
aslinya gitu. Makanya 1.600 ke Malang dulu, baru kembali lagi gitu. Terus itu jadi pertanyaan saya juga, kenapa ke Malang gitu, kenapa ke Solo gitu? Oh, ini mengkampanyekan donasi, memang misi utamanya
Kota besar, big
kota
city.
besar, big city gitu, agar banyak pelari-pelari.
Gila, berat banget itu.
Nah, setelah rute yang sangat panas itu, terus besoknya lagi dari Jogja lewat Salatiga, Boyolali, Solo, Salatiga itu kan banyak sekali tanjakannya gitu.
Iya.
Nah, berakhir di Desa Kubuk waktu itu kaki ankle kanan udah lemah gitu ya, udah nggak bisa lari lagi. Jadi cuma bisa jalan waktu itu, akhir hari ke-8 gitu. Jadi rute paling susah itu, tapi kalau yang saya rasakan paling susah, sebenarnya paling susah itu hari terakhir. Kenapa hari terakhir, hari ke-16 itu paling susah karena di situ saya skip tidur. Kalau biasanya tidur 6 jam gitu ya, istirahat 8 jam. Nah hari terakhir itu demi mencapai finish tanggal 17 Agustus, akhirnya kita nggak tidur. Jadi 2 hari nggak tidur, hanya 1 jam tidur gitu. Karena kalau tidur pasti kelewat tuh 17 Agustus.
18 ya finishnya.
Jadi saya waktu itu push 135 itu dalam 24 jam.
Edan. Dalam kondisi sudah kelelahan 15 hari loh.
Ya, dan tidur 1 jam. Tapi perlu dipahami semua itu relatif sebenarnya. Jadi kalau awal-awal kita tidurnya 4 jam sehari, begitu besoknya kita tidur 5 atau 6 jam sehari, itu tubuh lebih fresh lagi. Gitu.
Enggak.
Jadi
Enggak relatif. Enggak. Itu relatif buat kalian. Enggak. Saya nonton ini narasumber terekstrim sepanjang saya 12 tahun. Ini ekstrim. Cek Patricia paling sulit. Aku paling mirip kayaknya sampai fisikku paling mirip tuh sama Bio loh. Fisikku udah ya. Jadi Anda tahu perbedaan level jauhku sama mereka berdua apa? Bahkan kayaknya Cek Patricia itu di atasku karena udah gendang Jawa. Paling sulit sih.
Penyesalan datang di hari kedua.
Kok iso?
Iya, karena itu sulit banget ya. Purwakarta menuju Bandung, nanjak dari awal dan panasnya soro banget. Dan kami itu udah sepakat kita nggak pakai whey, nggak pakai BCAA, kita mau naturally lari.
Aduh gila.
Karena ini demi Palestina dan setiap kali kami menderita, kami selalu ingat mungkin rakyat di sana, orang-orang di sana itu mengalami kondisi yang lebih sulit dari kita, tapi mereka juga survive. Jadi kami juga harus survive. Hari kedua saya cukup stres ya hari kedua karena itu 3.000 ya at that day ya, or 100 naik terus dan panas. Untung di dalam perjalanan kami selanjutnya itu banyak tanpa kita minta pelari-pelari lokal datang membantu. Ada yang larinya siang hari karena dia masuk shift malam ya. Ada yang nemanin 100 kilo, ada yang nemanin malamnya nemanin 20, besok nemanin 40 lagi ya. Jadi pelari-pelari lokal kayak Tasik, Ciamis, Cilacap, Banyumas, pelari-pelari yang nggak pernah kita dengar. Karangpucung, bahkan nyediain kita penginapan karena nanggung. Mau ke kota depannya, berarti besok kami misalnya 20 kilo lagi baru ada hotel, sedangkan kita udah lelah. Jadi kalau kita naik mobil ke hotel, berarti kita wasting time 1 hour, balik lagi besok
Iya.
pagi ke titiknya. Jadi
Oh,
kita
iya.
nginap di rumah, kita gelar kasur, tidur di ruang tamunya. Ada beberapa kali ya kita nginap di rumah warga.
Dan mau mereka.
Runner, community runner itu.
Tian.
Dan mereka itu benar-benar beberapa tempat di yang karena Gumintir tutup kan,
Ya, Gumintir tutup kan,
Jadi di Jawa Timur tuh banyak yang kayak mendampingi lari dari belakang sehingga kami cukup aman dari mobil.
Tian.
Kalau enggak itu
Kesampar truk itu kalau misalkan, karena kan teman-teman tahu ya, Gumitir itu jalur utama yang ke Banyuwangi, tapi ditutup dikarenakan ada perbaikan jalan. Total donasinya berapa, Koensis?
Total donasi sampai saat ini berapa? Angkit?
200
So we're already about 285 million IDR.
Iya, 285 juta rupiah buat teman-teman di
dan itu dari 1.000 pendonor. 1.000 pendonor, banyak donor yang 10.000, 20.000, 50.000, banyak sekali. Yang 5 juta, 2 juta, 10 juta, enggak
berarti
jadi
kalau
deh.
dikolektifin berapa? No, how many people you can?
About 1,000.
1,000.
I think so.
Weh,
So
kebetulan.
like the big donations, like 5 million, 10 million, I think they are even less than 50 million, the total amount from big donation. And rest 200 million or something, it just come from very small donations like 10,000 IDR, 20,000. So that just shows like the reach of the
Solidarity ya.
yeah, like the campaign, people know about it, and people like, I can afford only 10,000, they donate 10,000, which is so nice. Like, you don't expect to everybody to donate 1 million, right?
Yeah.
People donate whatever they can, like 10,000, so many 10,000, 20,000, these small
Tian,
donations.
aku udah nggak masuk akal logika soalnya kalau lari 1.000.
Dan 100% dana yang masuk di donasi itu kami salurkan semuanya ke World
Siap.
Food Program.
Kebetulan
Jadi tidak ada satupun yang kami pakai buat biaya lari.
1.600. Nah, the after effect, ini pertanyaan terakhir. Saya mau tanya masing-masing ke Kohensis dulu sebelum ke Mr. Angkit. After effect setelah 1.600, fisik rasanya gimana? Recovery-nya berapa lama?
Yang paling susah itu ya tidurnya ya. Jadi mengembalikan tidur itu susah gitu karena waktu habis finish itu tidur cukup lama 10 jam. Besoknya kami harus nyetir balik kan bawa mobil ke sana. Bawa mobil ke sana harus nyetir balik gitu. Tapi kebanyakan ada satu kru bus ya yang nyetir gitu. Tapi kan gantian. Kalau dia udah nyetir 3 jam kita gantiin. Dan saya coba waktu itu, nyetir 1 jam aja susah gitu. Micro sleep terus. Untung mereka tidur gitu. Jadi nggak tahu.
Astaga, ya Allah. Sekarang ngomongnya baru di sini. Panik juga. Kayak Jubi panik ya di microchip bawa. Aduh.
Ya kalau Angkit naik pesawat pulangnya.
Oh langsung.
Nah,
Oh karena bawa kru ya.
Bawa kru.
Terus berarti paling recovery-nya terus itu tidur. Terus berapa lama? Unit berapa lama?
Aku butuh seminggu untuk kembaliin tidur itu, tidur cukup, makan cukup. Habis itu seminggu kemudian baru bisa lari, tapi nafas tetap agak berat ya gitu. Jadi semingguan lah.
Nggak ada cedera? No, jalan normal, pincang, atau sempat pakai kursi roda?
Nah, waktu hari ke-9 itu aku pikir cedera ini ya, 3 hari lari kesakitan, tapi setelah fisioterapi yang disediakan beberapa komunitas itu, akhirnya pulih sendiri dan sampai sekarang sih nggak kerasa sakit lagi gitu setelah 3 hari.
And for you, Mr. Angkit, after effect, you're running for 16 days straight, 1,600 kilometers. What are your body feeling? And how many times and how many duration, how many weeks you need to recover again?
For me, since this is my first such long event, so after I finish, I just keep sleeping and eat.
Oh,
Sleep and eat full time. And then for the earlier events, it never takes so much time. So I even got a bit worried, like maybe something happened to my body. It's not able to recover. So I message some people and then they say, it's normal. When you run for 16 days, your body needs a lot of time to recover. So you just need to rest a lot. You need to sleep a lot, and then I just keep doing it. And for the injury, I got some injury in my left ankle because when we were close to the finish, enter Bali. So I decided to not sleep for 2 nights
Yeah,
in a row. So, and then there's some people from Bali trail running community who joined me. And then I'm afraid of like on 18th August, when it's already too hot in Bali, it's very hard to run. So I want to finish before it's too hot. And then this Bali trail running David, he ran very fast. And then he asked me, is it too fast? I know it's fast, but I also know if you don't run fast, it'll already be afternoon on 18th. And that will make it so hard. So I just keep running. It's okay. It's not fast. You just keep going. I keep following you.
Ah,
And he's going at like very fast pace, like 6:30 something. And when I'm running, I already know that I think you will get some injury because you're like running so fast. I'm like, it's okay. Later I can go to hospital.
and then after this, what is your condition right now? Is normally?
Still, I think there's a little bit pain, but not when I walk or like usual activities, no pain. But if I just like try to stretch my ankle
Yeah.
or the knee, then it hurts a bit. So now I'm taking like physiotherapy.
Oh, physiotherapy routine.
Physiotherapy.
And it's getting better.
It's getting better and better. I think it's just a matter of time. Like within 1 week or so, it should be good.
Kayak santai banget ya, kalau aku panik. And buat Separatisia, apa yang dirasain badan setelah lari hampir 900 kilo?
Saya rasa mujizat ya terjadi dalam hidup kami. Biasa aja.
Oh iya?
Iya, karena sampai di Jakarta bahkan waktu nyetir saya masih bisa nyetir dengan baik, bawa pulang ke Jakarta dan besoknya saya langsung kerja karena ke kantor setiap hari. Paling jam tidur saya tambah. Jadi kita itu golongan kerbau, Dok. Kalau visio hanya menikmati visio gratis ya yang disediakan di race venue. Setelah itu nggak ada sport massage, nggak ada visio. Selama ini kami begini, jadi ya soro-soro sembuh-sembuh sendiri gitu. Mungkin itu yang membuat tubuh kita latihan. Jadi tubuh kita nggak pernah dimanja. Paling saya minta anak-anak ya. Nah itu salah satunya keuntungan punya anak bagi runner adalah mereka bisa mijit dengan cinta.
Tapi anak saya masih kelas 3 SD. SD kamu jadi ya, masih 3 SD.
Oh itu suruh naik ke punggung.
Oh iya, injak-injak.
Atau ditumbuh-tumbuh. Nah jadi mungkin dengan begitu anak-anak menghargai kita
Oke.
ya. Jadi seperti itu aja, paling 5 menit atau apa.
Lumayan gimana ya, nggak masuk logika ya gitu. And what is next plan for you?
I don't know. I cannot think of the other challenges right now. I'm still
Still
recovering.
300 Thor 320.
He can.
Oh ya, nah tadi saya nggak tidur semalam, dia nggak tidur 2 malam. Jadi 3 hari straight ya. Jadi beda, karena dia kan tertinggal sekitar 70 kilo.
Oh.
Jadi dia 2 malam nggak tidurnya. Jadi tidur malam kedua sebelum finish, dia tidur di ketapang, bangun, lari, habis itu di tengah jalan dia tidur lagi 2 jam.
Oh gitu. And what is your next now? 300?
So now I've not signed up for any race, but mostly, yeah, maybe in 1 or 2 weeks time, my body has recovered. He'll start craving for
Next event.
the next event. So let's see.
Let's see.
Let's see.
And
Don't
what
know
is your next plan, Mr. Hensis?
Ya, next plan tanggal 14 September nanti ya, ikut Thor 330. Kali ini di gunung. Harusnya lebih seru.
330 tuh jelaskan. 330 meter atau
330 kilometer dengan elevation gain 30.000 meter.
elevation game berapa?
30.000. Batas waktu 6 hari.
Di Italia.
Di Itali. Batas waktu berapa?
6 hari.
Berarti 1 hari harus lari 50
kilo.
kilo dan elevasi 5.000.
5.000.
Lu sama aja effort 100 loh kok. Saya denger aja.
Ya kalau di flat kan ya bisa jadi 100
Berarti
sehingga ya ekuivalen lah.
Kalau ditotalkan berarti 330 kilo, elevasi 30.000 berarti kayak 600 kilo dong. Buat Cek Patricia, next plan-nya apa ini?
Kalau dapat cuti tahun depan saya pengen balik lagi ke sepeda karena saya benernya cyclist. Jadi tadinya saya pengen Trans Am Amerika yang 6.000 kilo, tapi kenapa nggak kita buat di Indonesia? Jadi saya pengen bikin race Trans Nusantara tapi versi Pulau Besar. Jadi kita bersepeda dari Sabang Aceh menuju Lampung, kemudian Lampung nyebrang ke Pulau Jawa, dari Jakarta kita sampai ke Banyuwangi dok, ikut dok. Sampai Surabaya.
Kalau Jawa ikut saya berani, tapi
Dari Surabaya kita akan terbang ke Pontianak, dari Pontianak kita akan turun menyelusuri Trans Kalimantan menuju IKN, terus ke Balikpapan. Sabar dok, masih ada. Dari Balikpapan kita akan terbang menuju Makassar. Dari Makassar kita belah tengah, kita lihat keindahan Toraja, Danau Poso, menuju lehernya Sulawesi ke Gorontalo, kemudian masih ada dok, ke Manado dan N di Bitung. Seperti itu dok.
itu total berapa belas ribu kilo?
Enggak, itu paling 6.000 sampai 7.000. Tapi harus di-combine dengan pesawat ya, karena
Paling.
sudah ini.
Kalau Jawa saya mau ngikutin, tapi pace-nya nggak pace sampean pelan-pelan, WFG paling 20, 25. Aduh ya Allah, maksudnya 16.000 loh. Itu berarti dijeda langsung atau dijeda tiap bulan?
Jeda langsung, satu
Shit,
tarikan, target
man.
mungkin 30 hari bisa diselesaikan.
Kenapa sih ini sebenarnya? Itu aja kalau dari saya. Jadi berlari untuk Palestine 1.600 kilo dilakukan 3 orang di depan ini. Mungkin kalau secara orang logis ya, secara normal aja, sains tuh nggak bisa jelasin hal seperti ini. Karena kalau kamu tanya ke saya sebagai seorang dokter manapun, itu pasti akan melarang kalau ada 3 orang seperti ini. Jadi luar biasa apresiasi dan terima kasih buat para donatur-donatur yang benar-benar tadi dibilang Mr. Angkit from 10.000 ya, 10.000, 50.000 rupiah. Dan aku secara pribadi mendoakan kesuksesan bagi 3 narasumber ini. Pasti akan ada episode-episode selanjutnya karena kita belum menggali profilnya Mr. Angkit secara detail, gali profilnya Koenji secara detail, gali profilnya Cek Patricia secara detail. Tapi semoga teman-teman bisa melihat dan mendapatkan inti dari ini semua. Intinya, where there is a will, there is a way. Itu aja dari saya Tirta.
Angkit.
I'm Tirta.
Oh, Angkit.
Hansis?
Cipet.
Sampai jumpa di konten berikutnya.
Thank you.